So we're just talking about the setup for the foot and ankle. We said that there's 4 different options. The most reliable one, the one that you can do most consistently, was with the knee straight, person supine, where it negates all the additional major muscle group contributions. Second thing that we talked about is the pro tip of putting this at a slight angle versus all the way down. In the testing position, you will have the person all the way down, but for their comfort whilst you're setting it up, I put it at a slight slant. The second thing is using the, I don't know what to call it, but a wheel or a crank underneath to close off the gap, such that there's not a gap in their lumbar spine, but that is more nuanced based off the person's anthropometrics once you get them there. The second thing we spoke about was the inversion eversion bar is the same as the plantar flexion and dorsiflexion bar. So on one side it says PD, on the other side it says IE. Whichever one you're going to be doing, inversion and eversion or plantar flexion and dorsiflexion, you want it facing you. The second thing is the dimple here indicates that it should line up with the dimple on the front of the bioducts. Okay. So put that on, attach it. Okay, the next thing you're going to need to configure is the foot plate. So once again, you use the same foot plate for inversion and eversion as well as plantar flexion and dorsiflexion. Okay, it just kind of shows you a key here where you have green dot versus white dot, which would indicate which one you're doing. So if I turn it like that, the green corresponds to the inversion and eversion. The P and the white dot correspond to plantar flexion. So you got to loosen this up. It's a little sticky because it doesn't get used except by me at the time. Hopefully today will help you to use it too. All right, so then I just put it so that red dot is aligned and I close it off. Second thing I do is I open this and rotate it so that it sits in the center. There's been some suggestions, speaking to the Biodex personnel at CSM and elsewhere, is they actually recommend some people need to be slightly turned out or turned in as they go through their plantar flexion in order to be congruent with, like, as I point plantar flex, right, there's like some coupling where I go into the inversion or otherwise. I've never fussed with that, and I've never had an issue. But if you get someone who's like super turned out, maybe you do so. All right, and then you're gonna try and slide it on, and you're gonna be like, why isn't it going? It's because there's a push button on the underside, right? And you gotta push on it with your finger. Once you get past that, then you're good to go. How high should I do it? So there's not as much fluctuation in someone's ankle height as there is in their tibial length. Typically, I start everybody at 7 and then fluctuate from there. If you have someone that's really petite, you could potentially push them up to 6. Turn that on, crank it, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, and you should be good to go. The final adjustment that can be made is if I pull this pin, I can adjust it up and down. Ideally, you want to have the axis of their foot in line with the axis of the crank. Okay. So that is, for the most part, the actual setup without the person in place. There's more nuance to be had once someone actually gets on it. I didn't acknowledge it. I just kind of like took it for assumption. This is set up in the, I'm going to call it the traditional, the most common, where this is at 0 degrees. Right, so the tilt is at 0, and this is at 90, similar to what you would set up for a right knee. That doesn't change regardless of the laterality, left or right. You keep it the same. All right, you can probably pause that.